Hey everyone, this is a live psychic reading on psilocybin mushrooms. So just give me a moment here to get ready and get set up. I'll do this reading with my eyes closed, and the messages will come through mostly in symbolic form. So what I'm seeing is a person, and it's like their spirit is kind of coming out of their body in some sense, and this isn't necessarily like they're floating above their body and looking down at their body, but it's more like they're going into like a different kind of perception of the world, I guess you could say, kind of like when you drift off into dream, like you're in your dream as opposed to in your physical body, but you're still in your body, but it's like kind of like a different layer of the astral, you could call it. So what I'm seeing is people going to a different kind of level of you could call it the astral, where they're sort of not in their body anymore, but it's not like they're like going outside of their body looking at their body again. It's just like their mind is just somewhere else, if you know what I mean. And what I'm seeing is it's like there's this, the way that it's being shown to me is there's like this, like a conveyor belt that kind of just goes around in a circle, and it's like people are going up to this, and it's like their head, like their spirit is, and their head is like attaching to it, and it's like slowly going around. And what this is doing is it's tuning them into something that is kind of like a collective. So let me see more about this. Yeah, as they move along, it's like they're being shown things, but it's also like this is kind of like a an entity, I guess you could call it, that is kind of like the collective of all of these experiences. And I get that this goes back way back. I'm seeing like volcanoes, and like I'm getting the sense that there's like this is like cavemen time period, like way back. And I'm getting that like the volcanoes seem to be like associated with a long time ago, and kind of like the progression of Earth. And so there's something about that coming through, and how this is like something like a big time of a big time frame. And um, and so there's a lot of this awareness of that that's being kind of downloaded, if you want to call it that, into people's like energy, their spirit, through this experience. But at the same time, it seems like it's also taking from the person, also taking their experiences and integrating it. And so um, what I'm seeing is as the person's spirit kind of goes along this conveyor belt, it flips upside down, and as it's going across on the top, it's almost like the person is like sinking into the conveyor belt, and it's like it's almost like it's eating the person, or it's kind of like it's eating their spirit. So this is it's almost like this, the spirit of the mushrooms, this entity, I guess you could call it, the collective spirit of it is actually kind of taking the energy of the people who consume it, and it's like using that as food, and it's like using the spirit of the person to kind of turn them and kind of like melt them into it. So it's kind of like a collective, um, and it seems to have something more in mind. It's not in alignment with being in the body and being on earth and having a human life existence. um, it has its own agenda, and its agenda is to grow, and it kind of grows by kind of feeding off of people and people's energy, but it doesn't look like people stay part of this. It looks like people kind of become it, but then slowly like come back out of it again. However, it does seem that it can steal some essence from people that may take years to get back. I'm getting that it can take like 3 years or so for some people to really get some parts of themselves back from this experience, parts of their spirit that doesn't come back to their body again. And so I'm trying to see like what is the agenda here. Well, it just wants to grow and experience, and this is how it experiences things. This is not like the universal collective. This is like an actual like entity being that is not the universe at large, but its own separate being that is actually there's some selfishness here in the sense that it doesn't care. Like it's just like any other being, just it wants food, and so it's kind of feeding off of people through this process. Now I'm gonna tune into the people and see more, is this in alignment with their experience? And what I'm getting is I'm seeing that this it's like I'm seeing muscular like muscles, like people like kind of like this is an additional thing that people can do to develop muscle, kind of like mental or psychic muscle or like spiritual muscle, whatever you want to call it, but it's really just like to develop extra muscle. And it's kind of coming across like this is like you could call it in a video game, this would be like the side quest that you do to get like extra ammo or extra, you know, I don't know, weaponry or whatever, or like sword skills, you know, whatever video game you want to use as a metaphor. It's kind of like you're getting more things that you wouldn't normally have to make to kind of come back to the game, but it's not necessary for the game. It's just kind of like an additional thing that you can do here. And I'm seeing that this works for some people, but it's not the point. Like it's kind of like your sole purpose. Like you have a purpose beyond just doing that, but it can help you in the long run. But it's also an exercise that you can end up wasting time with. So I'm getting that this can actually take you off course, and derail you from the proper path of your sole purpose in life, if used in the wrong way. And I'm getting that some people this isn't a good thing for. I also get that some people this can create a new life purpose. It can almost like update them and be like giving them a different purpose for their soul or spirit. Soul and spirit, I guess. Trying to see what else is coming up here. So it seems like you can get stuck in it. I do get trauma. I'm seeing like this storm, and it's like these clouds, and it's like this emotional trauma, and it's actually kind of trying to pull people into it more and get people lost in it, and it's like not a positive. However, what I'm getting is a warrior spirit. There's something about being like the warrior here, and so it's kind of also training people to be a warrior. And so like if you're able to do that, then you're able to withstand and overcome the trauma of it and not see yourself as a victim and not fall for the kind of emotional games is what is coming up here. And if you're able to kind of overcome those, then you become like strong and like muscular and like metaphorically speaking in spirit, that is. And then you're able to integrate this more into your life, kind of once you come back. So it does seem positive in that regard. But again, you have to remember this is a selfish, I mean, selfish. All beings are selfish because, well, maybe not all, but all beings that consume food are kind of selfish, if you want to call it that. And in that regard, this is a being that is growing through the process of other people's experiences, integrating into it, and it kind of becoming your spirit, and then or using that as food, and then like just like we eat things and then we go to the bathroom, eventually you kind of come out the other end and come back. Although I do get the sense that this entity would love to keep people there longer, and so that seems to be what some of this trauma is actually about. And so sometimes there's a little bit of trauma that it can actually kind of stir up in people to get people stirred up and confused and trapped in that experience, and kind of like a bit of them kind of just stays in that state and is part of this being at bigger, kind of like we eat food to build our flesh and energy and whatnot. I do see this like the entity, the spirit of the mushroom, like turning into this gold, and it's like condensing, and it becomes this very, very like potent gold frequency color, and it's like kind of like a darker color of gold, and it's just like I hear it in my head, and it's like a ringing, but not like a high pitch, but like I don't know, like no, it's more high pitched than that. It's like it's I don't know how to do the exact. I can't do it quite right, but it's like this certain frequency that's it's not like really high pitched, but it's high pitched ish. But it's really potent, and this color gold. I'm gonna tune into more about what this is. This is about. I'm seeing like an eye that's like a detached eye that's detached from a from a body, and it's kind of like the observer eye, and it's just growing through awareness of the world, and it has an interest in the future of the planet because it kind of feeds off of the energy of the collective of like everything that it's learned and processed through time. I get the sense that there are beings, I'm saying like rabbits, and like not just humans, but like other animals that have actually like died and become part of this collective and like kind of melded into it, and it's like their spirit is kind of part of it still. And it's like they've become just this bigger being that has interest in the future of the planet, because obviously like what I've been saying, going in circles here, but just to be clear, it's like it's feeding off of that, and so it wants the future to work out, and so it's kind of processing what is best for the planet and downloading that into the people who go to that to that level of it. And so it's kind of a symbiotic thing about kind of preserving the planet and also helping the survival of all the species and the humans and whatnot that take it. It seems like there's a lot of animals involved in this too, not just humans. Um, and I guess and I guess the earth itself, because the mushrooms grow on the earth too, so it's very much so in tune with that. So let me take a moment and see if there's anything else that I'm missing here. Well, I get the sense that it really doesn't care about what people are doing in their life, and I just see like this snapping finger, like it just like gonna snap you out of your life and just like pull you into its consciousness. Like it doesn't care. It's kind of selfish in that manner. And because of that, that's why it evokes this warrior mentality, because you kind of have to adopt that mentality in order to survive or to kind of get through the experience of it. Let's see if there's more here to say or more that can show up for me. Well, in the way that like gut bacteria can be their own kind of selfish entity within the body, it's kind of like this is also a something that's been guiding humanity and affecting the future of humanity and the earth. And it's not like all humans are part of this, but it seems to have an effect overall on all humans because it's affected so many people over time in history. Um, and it's really downloading information into even people, like wealthy people is what I'm getting, are influenced by this. And a lot of technological advancements are part of this operation, if you want to call it that. And so I'm getting that a lot of like breakthroughs in science, not so much science, but more like technology in particular, like technological development um, is inspired by this energy, this collective, I guess you could call it. So I'm going to tune into people. Like, is this something that's good for people? Well, for some reason, I'm seeing a kid and like children growing up, and I'm seeing that is something that this is not good for. Um, I guess. Let me see why. It seems like it's almost like you have to be a mature adult is kind of what I'm, not that you have to be a mature adult, but almost like it's a rites of passage to become like a warrior. and that a child who is dependent on his mother um, won't really be able to have the best experience from this, because the dependency is there rather than the warrior mentality. And then I also see businessmen and some people who are like just very business oriented, and they are just trying to get by, and they may have mental health problems already, or just not have that much confidence. I'm seeing that these people can be very problematic with this. Let me ask why. Well, it's almost like their spirit just becomes like there's something that they're working through in their lifetime. Like they have a spiritual purpose to be experiencing what they're experiencing, even if we look at it and say like what a pitiful life, there's some purpose to their experience that they're working through, kind of like maybe a karmic lesson, etc., something of that nature. And so when they experience this, it's like such a different thing to them. It really makes them. I'm seeing suicide coming up. Like it can make people just not want to come back, and not want to go through the lessons that they're experiencing in their current lifetime, and it kind of just stops that in its tracks before it reaches a conclusion. So what I'm getting is that um, this can be bad, but let me see like what happens if they don't. Like, is there a point where maybe it is okay? And I'm seeing this person getting older, and as they're getting older, and it seems like once they've reached their um, age where they're not necessarily retired, but close to retiring, and getting old, but not necessarily like really old. Like maybe once people are like, well, I'm getting like around 55 or so, but of course, this is more symbolic, and it's not literally that specific age. It's just like if you get the gist of what the message is, then you can kind of take that as a metaphor for someone at that point in their lifetime in general. How that is where some people in these situations may have had their. They may have kind of come to peace with the energy, the life lessons, and then that would be where they could experience that and be okay. Basically, when somebody's retiring or going near retirement, is what I'm getting here. So let me see who is it good for. I'm seeing someone with a magnifying glass. And so this looks like someone who's very inquisitive. Someone who doesn't believe anything in particular, anything, but kind of can go back and forth in their mind. And who isn't going to get too caught up in something like religiously or even philosophically. And it looks like someone who has the like inner confidence. This isn't necessarily like an external confidence. This is more like an inner confidence within themselves to kind of make their own choices, inner choices, and in their life path. And it seems like someone with that ability can really, take control of the steering wheel, so to speak, and not get lost in this energy and kind of, I mean, some people can go kind of crazy, etc. Although many people get benefits. So this is going on pretty long, so I'm going to ask if there's anything more that I need to see here really fast. I'm just seeing a box, and it's like this box is blowing up. And this looks like people are running out of it. And this seems to be kind of like the box of society and social conditioning that is being blown up by this entity. So it does seem to have a massive influence here. So that's interesting. I want to ask really quick about like LSD. When I ask about LSD in comparison, I see it as very mechanical in nature, and it doesn't really seem to have that like entity behind it. It's more like a liquid technology, if that makes any sense. Like it's almost like technology that's like liquefied, and it seems to be almost more feminine, but it's almost like it doesn't have a masculine or feminine energy to it, whereas mushrooms are more masculine and kind of like authoritative. LSD is not, and it's kind of just, it's more like intellectual, but it's it doesn't seem to have like that as much of like a mind behind it with like an agenda to kind of grow. It's more just like kind of like wheels that just turn, and there's less of an agenda behind it. So anyways, I may do some more readings into like different compounds because I find this interesting. I might do ketamine and acid, and I don't know, salvia is an interesting one. So I don't know, maybe I'll look into these in a future video. So I'm going to clear out this energy so that I can end the reading. Okay, if you enjoyed this video, I always appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see the future videos like this, or monthly psychic prediction videos, etc., etc. You can always join my Patreon for $5 a month, where I talk about stuff that's more controversial I can't talk about on YouTube, which I have been having videos taken down lately. So yeah, I also do crypto predictions, Bitcoin predictions, stuff like that on my Patreon as well, and you can have access to all of that for $10 a month. Otherwise, it's $5 a month. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.